sleet is tapping on the glass tonight, just a dusting on the valley floor. We're moving shelves and shedding weight, getting this old house ready for something more. You reach behind that row of faded books, found a jar tucked deep in the grain, a heavy cylinder of colored light that I haven't seen since the summer rain. Oh, the stories that the glass keeps resting there on the mantle high, small enough to fit inside a palm, big enough to hold a lifetime of why. It's the marbles we gathered, the paths we ran, passing the light from an old man's hand to a little one standing where the journey began. That blue one, there was one on the creek bank by the sycamore where the water ran deep, and the cat's eye with the golden streak was a secret that we promised streak, was a secret that we promised to keep. I see my cousins and the neighbors' kids in every roll and every spin. It wasn't about the winner's prize, just the game and the light we were living in. The world outside keeps spinning fast, trying to bury the things that passed. But kindness doesn't need a headline, it just needs someone to take the time to tell the stories while the fire glows red. Oh, the stories that the glass keeps resting there on the mantle high, small enough to fit inside a palm, big enough to hold a lifetime of why. It's the marbles we gathered, the paths we ran, passing the light from an old man's hand to a little one standing where the journey began. Now they're in your house, in your new life, still holding the light against the winter strife. Just a glass jar on the mantle, just a quiet way to say I remember. The sleet is tapping on the window pane outside. An old wood stove is breathing with a steady sigh. Sorting through the cabinets, finding what was left behind. An oil-stained paperback is what I finally find. Tucked inside the pages, tucked beside a lemon pie, is a scrap of yellow paper catching my eye. Cornmeal for the morning, peaches for summer tea, butter for the biscuits, coffee for the quiet before the world wakes up to pray. Every little line is a map of how we found our wits, the simple things we gathered when the road was feeling long, the hand-winning heart of every kitchen table song. I see us gathered round that table when the heat was high, neighbors passing through the door as the afternoon went by. Volunteer bells ringing, sirens singing down the road, finding strength and flour, lightening every heavy load. We didn't know we were building something meant to last and stay in the ordinary habits of a simple country day. Yeah, that's a country day. Cornmeal for the morning, peaches for summer tea, butter for the biscuits, coffee for the quiet before the world wakes up to pray. Every little line is a map of how we found our wits, the simple things we gathered when the road was feeling long, the hand-winning heart of every kitchen table song. I place it back where I found it, safe inside the spine, understanding now the distance between your life and mine. The wood stove crackles softly, sleet is turning into rain. There's a comfort in the stillness, washing out the pain. Just a piece of yellow paper, just a recipe for peace, a love that doesn't falter, a legacy that won't cease. Clouds have parted like a heavy curtain and let the moonlight find its way to the levee. These old planks are drinking up the last, the rain, but feel lighter now. The winch isn't heavy. I carried this lantern when the mist were too thick. Now the only light left is the wick and the flick. I wasn't just pulling a rope through the timber, or dragging flat boards through the muddy bottom floor. I was carrying the pieces of the lives that they live from one side of the crossing to the next river shore, to the next river shore. The wake of a wedding, the silence of a funeral, 1,000 school mornings and the dust on their shoes. I watched the world trade the paddle for a bridge while I stayed here learning how to keep and to lose. But the water doesn't know about the steel or the road, it just keeps on moving with its own kind of load. I wasn't just pulling a rope through the timber, or dragging flat boards through the muddy bottom floor. I was carrying the pieces of the lives that they live from one side of the crossing to the next river shore, to the next river shore. The lantern is dimming, the flame is getting low, but the moon's got it from here where the cottonwoods grow. I'm stepping off the timber and onto the land with the steady old river and a peaceful right hand. Steady current, I'm home now. Rain held its breath through the night and left the grass with a drink of silver light. I'm walking through the gate of the county line to where the ground keeps memory by design. The morning air is scrubbed and clean and cold, a story that the earth is often told. Children find the patches where the clover grew. Their laughter sounds like something I once knew. Blankets spread like fields upon the lawn, welcoming the faces coming on. A photograph is passed from hand to hand, the quiet way we're tethered to the land. Oh, beneath the sycamores the shadows sway, holding on to bits of yesterday. From the first warm breath to the final long goodbye, they've kept a watch beneath this Arkansas sky. We're just the seasons passing through the shade, learning how the promises are made. I spent my years just tending to the green, keeping up the space where life could lean. I saw the weddings turn to christened heads, and watched the way the kindness finally spreads. It's never really mine, this patch of loam. It's just the place that calls a heart back home. Oh, beneath the sycamores the shadows sway, holding on to bits of yesterday. From the first warm breath to the final long goodbye, they've kept a watch beneath this Arkansas sky. We're just the seasons passing through the shade, learning how the promises are made. The bell is calling soft across the hill. The world is turning, but the soul is still, just a quiet harvest left behind. Before the sun clears the fence line and the frost turns to steam, there's a flickering yellow window where the world isn't mean. The latch clicks the same way it has since 1964, and the smell of dark roast meets the wind coming through the door. Harper pours the black courage into chipped porcelain rings, while the dust motes dance in the light that the morning brings. We talk about the hard draws and the rain that didn't come, how a man is more than just the work that he has done. The coffee counter's a ledger where we keep the soul's account, finding peace in the small things that time cannot discount. There's an empty stool where my daddy used to lean and listen in. Now a young hand grips that seat and the story starts again. Faces change like the seasons across the western range, but the heart of this old hollow is the one thing that won't change. He locks the door and turns the sign to close beside the glass, watching the frost melt away as the long hours pass. It's just coffee, but it's enough to keep us whole. Sunday coffee for the soul. The air is heavy, cooling on the skin. After the rain, the moonlight sinking in. I carried this lantern down the muddy track to a landing that ain't ever calling me back. 40 years of water under this old keel. Now the only sound is the turning of the wheel. Oh, the river keeps on flowing to the sea. It don't mind the changes, it don't mind me. I wasn't just moving the wagons and the kin, I was carrying their hope through the thick and the thin. Now the bridge is standing tall above the bend, and this lantern light is flickering at the end. Flickering at the end. I remember the teacher and her morning bell, the secrets the young lovers always had to tell. I saw the farmers when the crops wouldn't grow, and the ones who left with nowhere left to go. I never asked for names, I just held the line, helping them cross when the weather was unkind. My hands are tired, the wood is turning gray. My hands are tired, the wood is turning gray, and the younger men have found a faster way. But there's a dignity in standing by the flow, watching the world come and watching it go. It's not about the gold or the things we build, it's the simple cup of water quietly filled. Gold is leaking out behind the marsh grass line, and the station door is quiet for the very first time. I found my shadow stretching long across the floor, where I've seen 1,000 handshakes by the heavy door. They used to gather here when the sky turned gray, trading parts of lives and the words they couldn't say. Oh, the bench is made of cypress and the wind is made of salt, and if time forgot the stopping, well, it isn't quite its fault. We were just passing through, just ghosts of grace, this holy kind of place. Yeah, leaving all the quiet healing in this holy kind of place. The young ones used to whisper on their wedding day, while I watched the clouds and carried every word away. A soldier's heavy pack leaning on the peeling paint, a mother's steady hand when the daylight started to faint. I saw the whole town's secrets folded up in white before they walked out smiling toward the morning light. Oh, the bench is made of cypress and the wind is made of salt, and if time forgot the stopping, well, it isn't quite its fault. We were just passing through, just ghosts of grace, this holy kind of place. Yeah, leaving all the quiet healing in this holy kind of place. The oaks still hold the secrets that the people couldn't keep, In the silence of the station, where the irons that we achieve, it's the simple act of staying before it's time to leave. The station's sleeping now. Sleep well, my friends. The sky was still charcoal when I turned the lock, just the hum of the fridge and the tick of the clock. 50 years of flour and the tick of the clock. Now silence is all that the morning affords. Now silence is all that the morning affords. I mixed up the dough like I've done every day, but this time felt different in a quiet kind of way. Then the bell gave a ring and the school teacher walked in, talking about biscuits and how things have been. Then came the white hour for a cinnamon roll. Said it was medicine for a lonely man's soul. Old Mrs. Gable with her granddaughter in tow. Recall the day she first walked here years ago. It's the bell above Maple Street ringing so clear, counting the memories of every last year. I wasn't just baking, I see it now plain. I was the heart of the town, not the heat of the grain. Every slice and every smile of kindness sown, making this mountain feel like home. Making this mountain feel like home. Children turn parents and then they turn gray, like the dust on the windows at the end of the day. Like the dust on the windows at the end of the day. I watch the seasons change outside the glass, watching the future and watching it pass. But the bread was a constant, a warmth in the hand, a small humble prayer for this old mountain land. As the sun dipped behind the gold leaves on the ridge, the last customer left and I closed up the bridge. I swept up the flour and I turned out the light, with a heart full of stories to keep me through the night. Kindness is something that lasts like the grain, leaving its traces long after the rain. The bell above Maple Street rung its final song. Gravel crunch beneath the tires, same turn off to the hollow lane. Air was sweet with white pine fires, washed clean by the afternoon rain. They sat me where the shadows fall, beneath the cedar beam of old. I saw the chimes against the wall, reflecting evening's dusty gold. And the wind starts talking low, singing what the years have sown. Every ring is someone known, a name that the valley's never outgrown. Built from scrap and iron heart, by hands that taught their children well. It's the simple music of a life's own art, a story only the wind can tell. A story only the wind can tell. I saw the boy I brought to breath, now a man with silver in his hair. The woman who survived the fever's teeth sat laughing in a rocking chair. 40 years of house calls in the snow, of stitching up the wounds of time. I watch the children come and go, now they're the ones making the metal chime. Making the metal chime. And the wind starts talking low, singing what the years have sown. Every ring is someone known, a name that the valley's never outgrown. Built from scrap and iron heart by hands that taught their children well. It's the simple music of a life's own art, a story only the wind can tell. A story only the wind can tell. Just the breeze coming home. Brown cardboard stacked up by the window light. You're starting down the next turn of the road. Found the cedar box tucked awake's turn of the road. Found the cedar box tucked away in the back. We spread the pieces on this pine table here, matching the edges to the colors on the tin. But there's a hollow spot right in the center frame. But there's a hollow spot right in the center frame, a space where a final piece should have been. She used to say that the gaps are where the light gets in, that the picture's fine with just the way it stands. Life ain't meant to be solved or buttoned down tight or finished up some heavy judging hand. It's a beautiful thing to leave a little room for grace, to not have every answer in its proper place. In its proper place. I've seen the sunset on 1,000 different halls, helping folks carry what they couldn't leave behind, helping folks carry what they couldn't leave behind. Nobody ever had a house that fit just right, or a history that wasn't tangled and entwined. We laughed at things we broke and the times we failed. It's the cracks in the chips where the heavy's real. It's the cracks, the chips that make the surface real and tell the truth of what we're moving through. Now you're setting this one in a frame for the wall. No need to go digging for the thing that's gone. The edges are ragged and the picture isn't whole, but the memory is steady as the coming of the dawn. She used to say that the gaps are where the light gets in, that the picture's fine with just the way it stands. Life ain't meant to be solved or buttoned down tight or finished up some heavy judging hand. It's a beautiful thing to leave a little room for grace, to not have every answer in its proper place. In its proper place. It's a beautiful thing, just the way it is. Cold salt air through the wooden frame, November breath without a name. 60 winters in this harbor room, under a low and heavy sky of gloom. I'm closing the shutters on the harbor tide, leaving the dust and the ghost inside. Leaving the dust and the ghost inside, a life measured out in brass and oil, now resting from the 60 years of toil. The gear is still the mainspring tight, 1,000 days of watching for the light. It isn't loss that fills this hollow room, just the quiet scent of aged timber bloom. The clockmaker's tick is a debt that's paid, and the silent peace that the craft has made. We were the keepers, the brass and I, under the gray of a coastal Maine sky, under the gray of a coastal Maine sky. A wedding gift from 1899, a silver casing where the scratches shine. I polished the escapement, I fixed the pane, restoring the rhythm to the coastal rain. They left their stories in the wooden case, a family's journey in a tiny space. I heard the laughter in the clicking sound, now those wedding vows are harbor bound. I spent my hours winding down the years, measuring the joy and mending all the tears. My own life moved with a quiet, steady pace. My own life moved with a quiet, steady pace, while I fixed the hands upon a stranger's face. I wound the spring, I watched the seconds fall, a philosophical witness to it all. Now the gears are quiet, the work is through, I've kept the rhythm for me and for you. The gear is still the mainspring tight, 1,000 days of watching for the light. It isn't loss that fills this hollow room, just the quiet scent of aged timber bloom. The clockmaker's tick is a debt that's paid, and the silent peace that the craft has made. We were the keepers, the brass and I, under the gray of a coastal Maine sky, under the gray of a coastal Maine sky. Unlocked the door and left the key, time moves on without me. Rain is a knocking on the tin and the oak, climbing the rafters through a thin beam of smoke. Found that old joinery, the one grandmother kept, in the cedar where the memories and the linen have slept. I recognize the dovetail, the way the grain flows, from a craftsman I never met, but whose blood the wood knows. He didn't use varnish, just the rub of a hand, to keep it from drifting across this Blue Ridge land. Oh, the cedar don't breathe what the valley lets go. It holds all the secrets the hollows don't show. In the creases and folds of long ago, there's a love that keeps growing. The deeper we go, the deeper we go. She wrote him in pencil while he was away, through the winter of 28, every cold-hearted day. She spoke of the cornrows and the way shadows grew, like she knew that the ink was the only way through. He kept them in his kit till the pages went soft. Now they sit in the trunk in the beam of the loft. The house is just boards and the nails that we drive, but the words are the spirit that keeps it alive. The rain is a knocking on the tin and the oak, but the heart of the joinery never once broke. Never once broke. brass key turns the iron tumble of coal before the sun turns the autumn maple gold. Sacks of harvest wait against the southern wall, while wood fire shadows stretch across the hall. My hands remember what the clock forgot, the weight of water, the yeast inside the pot, kneading out the years across this heavy pine, one last morning when the morning feels all mine. Oh, the bell is ringing but the street is still, watching light crawl down from the misty hill. It wasn't just the flower or the rising heat, it was the quiet rhythm of the heart's on Maple Street. We don't just break the crust, we break the fineness that we pray is gonna last. Yeah, we pray it's gonna last. A widow brings a story of a Saturday crumb, of a Saturday crumb. A teacher recalls comfort when her life was numb. A grown-up girl remembers fingers gripping tight, walking with her granddad in the morning light. I thought I was just feeding mouths that needed more, but they were bringing ghosts right through my open door, dusting off the flour from these 60-year-old sleeves. Life is just a circle like the turning of the leaves. Oh, the bell is ringing but the street is still, watching light crawl down from the misty hill. It wasn't just the flower or the rising heat, it was the quiet rhythm of the hearts on Maple Street. We don't just break the crust, we break the fineness that we pray is gonna last. Yeah, we pray it's gonna last. Ovens cooling down for the very last time. Silence is the only rhythm that's left to climb. The light is shifting west, the mountains turning blue. I found my whole life here, hidden in the dough I drew. Humming chorus melody. Thank you, Maple Street. Soft ring of the bell. Fog rolls in like a heavy wool coat, hides the ledges and the path to the boat. The granite walls, they remember my name, even if the world has moved on from the flame. My boots find the stairs in the dark and the damp, walking the beat of a ghost oil lamp. And here is the book with the spine worn thin, where the midnight hours and the storms begin. No ink on the last page, no final line, just decades of keeping the world's rhythm and mine. I guided the ships I would never behold, a story of silence and salt that was told, a story of silence and salt that was told. I logged the fog and the moon's long arc, measured the shadows and guarded the dark. They say I was lonely, but the sea doesn't lie. It talks in the gales and the gray winter sky. I was the sentinel, steady and slow, watching the world in the ebb and the flow. So I leave it open, the pages all bare, like a breath of the ocean left hanging in air. The lamp turns itself and the beacon is bright. I'm just the old man who once tended the light. No more to record and no more to keep. My vigil is done, while the travelers sleep. My vigil is done while the travelers sleep. The light stays on without me now. It's a good kind of quiet, a good kind of peace. Canyon wind carries a whisper of the dawn before the canyon light is truly on. Mist is crawling up from the riverbed below. Mist is thick where the canyon shadows grow. I ain't watching dust dance on the limestone age and time. I ain't here to judge the plumber line. A stone bridge carries the weight it was meant to hold. Stories of the nameless and the tales of the bold, built for the many while the one stood his post, stood his post. A ghost of a memory, the thing I needed most. 40 years of rain tried to peel away the seams. 40 years of sleeping on the mason's dreams. Sunlight hits the mortar like a secret come to life, cutting through the years like a sharpened surveyor's knife. I hear the river talking in a language I recall, steady as the rhythm of the water's lonely fall. I hear the river talking in a language I recall. My hands ain't as steady as a limestone arch. My hands have found the finish of this quiet march. The ledger's closed, the fire to slowly fade. A stone bridge carries the weight it was meant to hold. Stories of the nameless and the tales of the bold, built for the many while the one stood his post, stood his post. A ghost of a memory, the thing I needed most. I'm walking off and leaving the stone behind. I'm leaving the canyon, leaving the quiet for the wind to find. No more measure, no more low, just the end of the road. Bristles hum a rhythm on the oak, sweeping out the remnants of the folks who spoke. Gray clouds are pressing hard against the glass, watching all the seasons in the valley pass. It's quiet now, just the settling of the dust, in a room where iron hinges learn to trust. I see the worn out indent on the bench from a boy who didn't know how to quench the fire in his chest about a life somewhere away. And the faded frames of faces gone to gray. There's a map of every town they ever tried to find, hanging in the mirror of the corner of my mind. They came to lose the weight of what they couldn't name. Different names and faces, but the ache felt the same. I held the blade, they held the line between the ticking of the clock and the design. 50 years of secrets tucked behind the ear. I'm the only one left here who's meant to hear. And oh, the stories never hit the printed page. They stayed inside the walls of Page. They stayed inside the walls of this old wooden cage. I wasn't just a cutter in a chair of steel. I would look as to a witness to the willy field, a silent kind of anchor in a shifting, turning tide, with nothing but the quiet kept inside. Now the handle turns, the bolt slides in its slot, and I'm looking at the shadow of the life I've got. A railroad rear the walls of this old wooden cage. I wasn't just a cutter in a chair of steel. I was just a witness to the way they really feel, a silent kind of anchor in a shifting, turning tide, with nothing but the quiet kept inside. Train whistle fades. Just listening, that was the work. Soft hum. The sun is dipping down behind the arena fence tonight. Just a skeleton of metal in the failing amber light. I found a dusty drawer beneath the ledgers and the pens, and a ribbon folded neatly where the paper trail begins. It was faded blue and crinkled like a memory in the rain, a small prize for a heart that hadn't learned the cost of pain. I remember her shy smile beside the yeast and flour dust, before the shine wore off the world and turned to time and rust. And it's the quiet ways we show up that matter in the end, the kindness of a stranger and the courage of a friend, a ribbon in a drawer, a seed that someone helped to grow, in the silent architecture of the things we come to know. Fairgrounds grew up round her, and she gave back to this place. I saw that same shy fire in her daughter's youthful face. It wasn't just the bacon, it was knowing that she could. It wasn't just the bacon, it was knowing that she could find her place inside the circle and do something good. I smoothed the wrinkles out and left it there beneath the stack. There's some things that the passing years can never quite take back. The sun has gone down now and the quiet's settling deep. Just a ribbon in a drawer. That old screen door still sighs the same old song, like it's counting every year that I've been gone. Grandpa's rocking slow, a silhouette in the heat with a glass of the dirt on his feet. The crickets are tuning up their tiny bows, and the shadows stretch where the summer wind blows. Dad tells the tale of the barn that wouldn't stand, how a neighbor's handshake saved the family land. Lessons learned in the sweat and the dust, mistakes that turned into a lifetime of trust. We're trading the stories the library never kept, watching the world while the rest of them slept. Outside the railing, the fireflies spark, writing our history across the darkening park. Those weren't hard years, just seasons of the soul, turning our fragments back into a whole. Oh, the secrets we left in the screen doors creak, the wisdom we found when we stopped trying to seek. The air gets heavy with the smell of the pine, 3 generations at the end of the line. The porch light hums like a hymn in the dark, while we fan the embers from a shared family spark. It's not in the money or the things that we own, it's the names on the stones and the seeds we have sown. Outside the railing, the fireflies spark, writing our history across the darkening park. Those weren't hard years, just seasons of the soul, turning our fragments back into a whole. The secrets we left in the screen doors creak, the wisdom we found when we stopped trying to seek. Just a quiet healing. That creek bed soaked up all the morning silver, left the hill dirt smelling sweet and deep. You walked me past the cedar and the willow to the patch of ground you meant to keep. Your calloused hands were gentle with the trellis, showing how the vine had finally won. And you reached down deep beneath the heavy leaves, found 3 heirlooms blushing in the heat, one for you and one for him and one for me, the sweetest prize that summer ever grew. Then you pulled that steel blade from your denim seam, taught me how to find the root, taught me how to find the root, let it go. I saw the way you wiped the red clay off the skin, like you were polishing a captured sun. You said the best things start where soil is thin, way back when our lives had just begun. You told a tale about a fence line and a storm, and how the neighbors shared a seed when ours was lost. And you reached down deep beneath the heavy leaves, found 3 heirlooms blushing in the heat, one for you and one for him and one for me, the sweetest prize that summer ever grew. Then you pulled that steel blade from your denim seam, taught me how to find the root, taught me how to find the root, let it go. The knife wasn't just for slicing through the stems, the knife was for less, the knife was for letting go the past. Just a piece of steel that's meant to last, carrying the years in every little scratch, finding beauty in the things we didn't latch. And you reached down deep beneath the heavy leaves, found 3 heirlooms blushing in the heat. One for you and one for him and one for me, the sweetest prize that summer ever grew. Then you pulled that steel blade from your denim seam, taught me how to find the root, taught me how to find the root, taught me how to find the root, let it go. Taught me how to find the root and let it go. I'm standing where the levee bends to meet the muddy edge. The rain stopped short an hour ago, leaving life on every ledge. 40 years I tracked the flow and watched the hollow creek. I carried these 3 lanterns, here the ones I made by hand. Just a night watchman doing time across this piece of land. Oh, the lanterns at the hollow crossing cast a yellow glow, showing us the secrets of the water down below. They don't need to burn tonight. The danger's burned, the danger's long's past, but some things they once meant to last. Yeah, the lanterns at the hollow crossing are burning for the man who spent his living holding back the river with his hand. I remember when the creek would crest and roar against the gate. I'd sit here in the pitch black dark, just wrestling with fate. No radio, no sirens then, just the sound of pouring rain, and the neighbors in the distance knowing I would break the chain. I just kept a steady light through all those rainy nights and heavy days. Oh, the lanterns at the hollow crossing cast a yellow glow, showing us the secrets of the water down below. They don't need to burn tonight. The danger's burned, the danger's long's past, but some things they once meant to last. Yeah, the lanterns at the hollow crossing are burning for the man spent his living holding back the river with his hand. I've hung 'em on the old crossbeam, 3 glass jars in a row, to tell the mist that settles in it's finally time for me to go. The creek don't need a guardian, the timbers had its say, but the heart of that old watchman in the hollow crossing mill